Most drivers, nearly 97% of them, have never come across the kind of tricks I'm about to show you. Some of these will save you hundreds of dollars every month on repairs. Here are 15 genius car hacks no one. Hack number 14, fresh apple trick for frosted windshields. Your windshield fogs up and frosts over every single morning, and you're stuck scraping ice or waiting on the defroster for 10 minutes before you can even see the road. Here's what detailers won't tell you. Cut an apple in half and rub the cut side directly across the outside of your windshield in slow, even strokes. Let the thin film dry, then buff lightly with a dry cloth. You'll feel the surface go from slick and wet to smooth and slightly tacky as the residue sets in. The natural pectin and sugars in the apple create an invisible barrier that repels moisture, which means less frost buildup and less fogging overnight. Your windshield goes from a solid sheet of ice to barely frosted or completely clear by the next cold morning. An apple costs about 50 cents and treats your entire windshield multiple times over. What they don't tell you is that this is the same principle behind expensive anti-fog windshield treatments sold for $15 to $20 a bottle. It's the same barrier effect, just without the brand name and the markup. And here's the kicker. Reapply once a week in cold weather and you may never need to scrape ice again. Detailers rarely mention this because a 50-cent fruit replacing a $20 bottle doesn't exactly help move product off the shelf. Keep a spare apple in the garage during winter so you're never caught without one on the coldest mornings. This trick works just as well on side windows if frost keeps blocking your mirrors too. If that apple trick surprised you, this next one involves toothpaste and cleaning your car. Hack number 13, toothpaste rescue for bird dropping stains. A bird gets you right on the hood, and if it sits there too long in the sun, it eats straight into your clear coat and leaves a permanent dull mark. Here's the fix before that happens. Dab a small amount of plain white toothpaste onto the spot and work it in gently with a damp cloth in small circles. The mild abrasives lift the acidic residue before it has a chance to bond with the paint, and for spots that have already sat a while, it helps buff out light etching. Rinse and dry. A tube of toothpaste costs $2 and covers dozens of spots over its life. What they don't tell you is that droppings can start damaging clear coat in under 2 days in direct sun, especially in summer heat. And here's the kicker. Catching it within the first hour with this trick usually means no etching happens at all. Keep a travel-sized tube in your glove box so you're never without it when it matters most. Bright, sunny days make this even more urgent, since heat speeds up how fast the acid eats into the paint. Hack number 12, WD-40 trick for a sticking fuel cap. Twisting your fuel cap open feels like a wrestling match every single fill-up, and it's only gotten worse over the years. Here's the fix before you pay for a new assembly. Give the outer threads and hinge of the cap a light mist of WD-40, keeping it away from the rubber seal itself. Then wipe off anything extra. The lubricant breaks down the grit and light rust that's built up on the threads from weather and time, letting the cap turn smoothly again. A can of WD-40 costs $5 and lasts for years of fill-ups. What they don't tell you is that a stiff cap is almost never a sign the part is failing. It's just dry threads. And here's the kicker. Keeping the cap turning freely also protects the seal, which is what actually stops a check engine light from popping up over a loose fuel cap. This takes under 2 minutes and can be done the next time you're already standing at the pump. A cap that turns easily also means less chance of accidentally cross-threading it and damaging the assembly for real. Now for something that clears out a smell you've probably just learned to live with. Hack number 11, dry coffee grounds for cabin odor removal. Your car has picked up a smell you can't quite place, and every air freshener you've tried just adds a second smell on top of it instead of getting rid of the first one. Here's a fix that actually pulls the odor out. Fill a small open cup or a spare sock with plain unused coffee grounds and set it in the cabin overnight, tucked into a cup holder or under a seat. The grounds are extremely porous and physically absorb odor particles out of the air instead of masking them with fragrance. By morning, the smell is noticeably weaker or gone entirely. A bag of coffee grounds costs $6 and can be reused for cabin after cabin. What they don't tell you is that this is the same absorption principle behind professional odor treatments that run well over $100. And here's the kicker. Leave a small container permanently tucked away and it keeps working for weeks without you doing anything else. This works especially well after spilled food or a wet umbrella has left a lingering smell behind. Cracking a window for an hour after removing the grounds helps clear out any last trace completely. Before we get further into the list, hit that like button real quick. Digging up tricks like these takes real time, And every like helps this reach more drivers who are sick of getting upcharged for stuff they can fix themselves. Alright, back to it. Hack number 10, shoe polish revival for faded tire sidewalls. Your tires have gone from deep black to a chalky, sun-bleached grey, and it's the one thing that makes an otherwise spotless car look neglected. Most drivers just assume it's time for new tires, but the rubber underneath is usually fine. It's just the surface that's given up. Grab a tin of black paste shoe polish, not the liquid kind, and work it into the sidewall with a brush or cloth, paying extra attention to any faded lettering. Give it a minute to set, then buff it out with a dry rag. The pigment binds to the rubber's texture the same way it would to leather, restoring depth and contrast instead of just sitting on top like a spray-on dressing does. A single tin runs about $3 and outlasts a dozen bottles of liquid tire shine. What most people don't realize is that this method holds up through rain and highway speed far better than sprayed-on dressings, which tend to fling off onto your fenders within a day or two. And here's the kicker. Because it's absorbed into the rubber rather than coated on top, it doesn't attract the dust and road grime that glossy dressings do. A single tin can realistically last an entire season if you only touch up the sidewalls monthly. This also works well on faded plastic trim pieces nearby, so don't be afraid to use the leftover polish on those too. This next one quietly protects something that can leave you stranded. Hack number 9, petroleum jelly barrier for battery terminals. You pop the hood one day, and the battery terminals are caked in a white or blue-green crust, and not long after, the car starts hesitating to turn over. A shop will happily sell you a new battery for $150 or more when the battery itself was never the problem. Here's the fix, done ahead of time. After scrubbing off any existing corrosion with a wire brush, coat each terminal and connector with a thin layer of petroleum jelly. The coating blocks moisture and air from reaching the metal, which is exactly what triggers that corrosive buildup in the first place. A jar of Vaseline costs $4 and protects your terminals for well over a year. What they don't tell you is that corroded terminals, not a failing battery, are one of the most common reasons a car won't start on a cold morning. And here's the kicker. This same coating also helps keep the connection tight against vibration, which cuts down on those random electrical gremlins that come and go. Check the terminals every few months, especially if you live somewhere humid or near the coast where corrosion builds up faster. A 5-minute check like this can be the difference between starting your car and calling a tow truck. Now for a trick that fixes bodywork without a single trip to the shop. Hack number 8, hot water trick for popping out bumper dents. A shallow dent in your plastic bumper is staring at you every time you walk up to the car, and a body shop wants $200 or more just to pop it back into shape. Here's the fix instead. Boil a full pot of water and pour it slowly and carefully over the dented section from a safe distance, letting the heat soften the plastic. Once it's pliable, push firmly from behind the bumper or press outward from the front with your palm until the dent pops back into place. Immediately follow with cold water poured over the same spot to lock the plastic back into its restored shape. This costs nothing but a pot of water and can be repeated on more than one dent. What they don't tell you is that plastic bumper covers are built to flex under heat, which is exactly why this works without any filler or repainting. And here's the kicker. This trick is strictly for plastic bumper covers. It won't do anything for a dent in a metal panel. Always wear gloves when handling the bumper right after pouring hot water, since the surface heats up more than you'd expect. Minor dents from shopping carts and parking bumps respond to this the best, so don't expect miracles on anything deep or sharp-edged. If the dent doesn't pop out on the first try, let the plastic cool completely and repeat the process rather than forcing it. A kettle works just as well as a stovetop pot if you want a more controlled pour. This next one is a button most drivers have looked at 1,000 times without ever pressing it. Hack number 7, the hidden heated mirror button nobody uses. Rain or frost fogs up your side mirrors constantly, and you end up leaning over to wipe them by hand at every red light because it never occurred to you there might be a button for this. Here's what most drivers miss. Look for a small icon on your dash or center console showing wavy horizontal lines coming off a mirror shape. That button switches on heating elements built directly into the mirror glass, and it's often tied to the same switch as your rear defroster. Press it, and within a couple of minutes the mirrors clear themselves with no wiping required. This feature costs you nothing since your car already has it built in. What they don't tell you is that this button gets overlooked constantly simply because it's small and tucked in with a dozen other icons. And here's the kicker. On plenty of vehicles, turning on the rear defroster automatically fires up the heated mirrors too, meaning yours might already be working without you ever noticing. Check your owner's manual once to confirm exactly where the button sits on your specific model. Getting into the habit of using it before every cold or rainy drive saves you from ever wiping a mirror by hand again. This small habit also prevents streaks and smudges from building up on the mirror glass, since you're no longer wiping it by hand with whatever's on your sleeve. Some vehicles even pair this with heated wiper park areas, so it's worth checking your manual for both features at once. This next trick brings faded interior plastic back from the dead. Hack number 6, baby oil revival for faded interior plastic. Your dashboard and door panels have turned a chalky, sun-bleached grey, and even a spotless car starts looking tired and old because of it. A shop will charge $40 to $80 to restore that trim. Here's the fix instead. Put a small amount of baby oil on a microfiber cloth and wipe it across the plastic panels in long, even strokes. Then buff off any excess with a second dry cloth. The oil soaks into sun-damaged plastic and restores a rich, dark colour without leaving a greasy shine behind. A bottle of baby oil costs $5 and lasts through months of applications across your entire interior. What they don't tell you is that this works on the same principle as trim restoration products that charge 4 times as much for the same result. And here's the kicker. It also adds a layer of UV protection, so the colour holds longer than it would after a single wipe down. Avoid getting any oil on the steering wheel or pedals, since it can make those surfaces slippery. A little goes a long way here, so resist the urge to apply more than a few drops per panel. Doing this once a month keeps the trim looking consistently fresh, instead of letting it fade back to grey between treatments. Parking in shade whenever possible also slows down how quickly the plastic fades in the first place. Now for a trick that gets you comfortable a lot faster on a scorching afternoon. Hack number 5, the door pump trick for cooling a hot car fast. Your car's been sitting in the sun all day, and the second you open the door, it feels like stepping into an oven, with the AC needing a solid 10 minutes to catch up. Here's a fix almost nobody thinks to try. Before starting the engine, roll one window all the way down and open and close the opposite door repeatedly, like you're pumping air. Each swing forces a burst of superheated trapped air out through the open window, and within under a minute, the cabin temperature drops noticeably. Then start the engine and turn on the AC, and it cools the rest of the way much faster since it's no longer fighting against trapped heat. This costs nothing and works every time you get into a hot car. What they don't tell you is that a parked car's interior can run dozens of degrees hotter than the air outside, which is exactly why your AC struggles so hard when you first start driving. And here's the kicker. Doing this before you even turn the key means your AC spends its first few minutes cooling real air instead of an oven. 5 or 6 door swings is usually all it takes to feel a real difference. This trick works even better if you crack 2 windows instead of 1, since the air has somewhere to flow through instead of just pushing out one side. Kids and pets notice the difference immediately, since the cabin feels tolerable within seconds instead of several long minutes. A sunshade on the windshield beforehand makes this trick even more effective, since less heat builds up in the first place. This next one protects a part of your interior most people never think to treat. Hack number 4, WD-40 spot, fix for leather and vinyl seats. Your leather or vinyl seats have picked up small scuffs, squeaks, or stiff patches that make an otherwise clean interior look worn out. A detail shop will tack on leather conditioning for another $30 to $60. Here's the trick. Spray a small amount of WD-40 onto a microfiber cloth, never straight onto the seat itself, and work it into scuffed or stiff spots in small circles, then buff with a dry cloth. The light lubricant helps lift surface scuffs and briefly softens patches that have gone stiff or started cracking. A can of WD-40 costs $5 and covers your entire interior many times over. What they don't tell you is that this is meant as a quick spot treatment, not a substitute for a proper leather conditioner used on a regular schedule. And here's the kicker. Always test it on a hidden section first, since finishes react differently depending on the material. Wipe off any excess thoroughly afterward, so the seat doesn't feel slick when you sit down. This is best saved for occasional touch-ups rather than a weekly routine, since leather still needs a real conditioner long-term. Light-colored leather in particular should be spot-tested carefully, since discoloration is much more noticeable on pale surfaces. Keep a dedicated cloth just for this job, so you're not accidentally spreading old grime back onto the seats. This next feature is hiding in more cars than people realize. Hack number 3, the hidden umbrella compartment feature. You get caught in a downpour, toss your soaked umbrella onto the seat or floor, and now you're dealing with a puddle and a damp smell that lingers for days. Here's what most drivers have never noticed. Certain vehicles particularly some European models. Build a dedicated umbrella slot directly into the door panel or under a seat, complete with its own drainage so water never touches your carpet. Check your door pockets and under the front seats for a slim, umbrella-shaped compartment you may have driven past for years without realizing it's there. This costs you nothing since it's already part of the car. What they don't tell you is that most owners never find it because it's never pointed out anywhere in the owner's manual. And here's the kicker. If your car doesn't have one built in, a $10 aftermarket umbrella holder that clips into the door pocket gets you almost the same result. Some luxury brands even include a small dedicated umbrella that matches the interior, tucked right into that same compartment. Checking for this feature takes 30 seconds and could save your carpet the next time a storm catches you off guard. It's worth checking every storage nook in your car, since some brands hide similar drainage-equipped compartments in unexpected spots like the trunk sidewalls. Even if your car doesn't have a dedicated slot, a simple, waterproof bag kept in the door pocket solves the same problem for a couple of dollars. This next one is about the single part of the car you touch on every single drive. Hack number 2, petroleum jelly fix for squeaky pedals. Your brake or clutch pedal lets out a squeak every time you press it, or feels sticky and stiff at the pivot, and it's been driving you crazy for weeks. Here's the fix. Apply petroleum jelly on the pedal itself. This is to remove its stickiness. You can use a microfiber towel to clean the pedal. Also, you can use a toothbrush to clean it evenly across all pedals. The jelly lubricates the metal contact point, causing the squeak, restoring smooth, silent movement. A jar of Vaseline costs $4 and handles this fix for years. What they don't tell you: once treated, test the pedal a few times with the engine off before driving to make sure the squeak is actually gone. If the squeak comes back after a few months, you should contact a mechanic, but this Vaseline trick is worth the try. This fix works just as well on a stiff parking brake pedal if your car has one. A mechanic diagnosing this same squeak as a worn bushing or brake component can quote anywhere from $80 to $150 in labor before even touching the actual cause. And now, the number one hack, a feature nearly every driver has flipped at some point without knowing why it works. Hack number 1, the tab hiding on your rearview mirror. Headlights from the car behind you blast straight into your rearview mirror at night, and for a split second you're driving half blind. Most people just squint through it, or angle the mirror away and lose track of what's behind them. Here's what most drivers miss. That small tab underneath your rearview mirror flips the glass to a night setting, using a wedge-shaped prism inside it. In the normal position, you get a sharp, direct reflection. Flip the tab, and the mirror redirects that same glare downward and away from your eyes, while still leaving a dim reflection, so you're never fully blind to traffic behind you. This feature has been sitting in your car the entire time at zero cost. What they don't tell you is that a huge share of drivers never touch that tab in years of owning the car, simply because no one ever points it out. And here's the kicker. Remember to flip it back each morning too, since a dim mirror in daylight can be nearly as risky as a blinding one at night. Get in the habit of flipping it the moment the sun goes down, rather than waiting until headlights actually start bothering you. It's a 2-second adjustment that makes a real difference on long night drives. Some newer vehicles have replaced this manual tab with an auto-dimming mirror that senses glare and adjusts on its own, so check which type you have. If your mirror doesn't seem to have a tab at all, run your finger along the bottom edge, since on some models it's recessed and easy to miss by sight alone. Teaching a new or teenage driver about this tab early on can genuinely prevent a dangerous moment of blindness on their first few night drives. How many of these have you actually tried? Drop a comment with the one that surprised you most. If this saved you a trip to the shop, hit subscribe for more tricks that keep money in your pocket instead of theirs. Click the next video if you want to know more mind-blowing secrets that will save you more money.